Hello, and welcome to my video lesson about uh, finding the difference between primary and secondary sources, and also how to use that knowledge to find better and more effective research options for your own topics and papers and essays and what have you. So, of course, it's very easy to just go difference between a primary and secondary source. Google it or whatever search engine you use, and you can find usually a quick summary from just the first AI bot that has given the answer. And as it says right here, primary source provides direct firsthand evidence of an event or topic, such as a diary, original research, or a speech. A secondary source interprets, analyzes, or summarizes primary sources, creating a new perspective on the original information. Now, that definition is not wrong. I would definitely not say it is wrong. It is a right definition. However, what can you tell based off that definition? The AI is a secondary source of a secondary source. The AI doesn't know anything. It is just reading other people's sources, other people's definitions, and other people's reasoning. That is why I would not say that this AI bot is a great source, because it doesn't tell you, it just says this. It even says AI responses may include mistakes because it is a secondary source of secondary source. So, where do we find the information that is a bit more trustworthy? Well, scroll down. As you can see, I was looking through it earlier, trying to find good options. And I found this one, and it's not bad. It's definitely more of a blog, and it says right here, and it's definitely not wrong. I would definitely say this is a good source. However, another one I found was from the UCLA Department of History, and I would say this one is a bit better for a couple of reasons. One, it is not a blog, it is just a part of the Department of History's academic standards and resources. It has clear statement, and it is from a college that I would say is pretty well credited. And just for those reasons alone, I would say that that makes it a good source. And it even says it gives the same definitions as the AI does. However, it goes into more examples, giving actual primary sources, and it gives you good questions to evaluate when looking at those sources. Overall, the point I'm trying to get to with this is don't just look at the first thing. Go a little deeper. Don't be afraid to dig into different sources, and don't be afraid to search for different answers because they're likely out there. Now, we're going to go into the second part of this lesson where we're going to talk about how to find these sources for yourself, especially ones like primary sources, because since they're usually not digital, they tend to be a bit harder to find. Now, for one great example for any student is Google Scholar. You just type it into your search engine, Google Scholar should be the first one that appears, and then you come to a different search engine. The point with Google Scholar is to give you a place to look for more informative articles that aren't just for the general public. They are, as the name says, for scholarly articles, for essays, for statements, for research. Now, as you can see, I was looking up the American Civil War earlier because that was the topic I chose to use for an example. If you Google the American Civil War, pulls up a bunch of things, and as you can see, related searches. That is because when Google Scholar, one key thing to keep in mind, you gotta be specific. American Civil War causes. Okay, that gives you different stuff. And now if you Google American causes primary sources, you see you get even more stuff. Now, with primary sources, I must caution, Google Scholar isn't going to be as useful. Most search engines aren't. That's why you'd have to go find your local university library, your local archives records. They can be found online, but usually they're just digitized versions of physical media. Hence why if you go to something like this, Civil War Letters, Historical Sources, this article in itself wouldn't be a secondary source. However, the letters they are taking from very much are primary sources that could be even better for whatever topic or you are researching. With all that being said, I will be linking all these articles as examples for you to look over for your own purposes in the module. And I think that you have the ability, the key thing I want you to take away from this lesson is that don't trust the first thing. Always be willing to look at your searches and find where they're written from, who wrote them, what the agenda was, any other thing that could be important. Be careful what you look for, and Google Scholar is made for that. Thank you for your time.